Hey guys, Eric here, and I want to talk to you real quick about thedailydownforce.com. Every day, this website covers the latest news and trends in NASCAR, from silly season right through the checkered flag in Phoenix. Need a new morning routine as soon as you wake up? Well, now you have it, dailydownforce.com. This is the website I use to keep up with the industry, the drivers, and of course, what the community is talking about. And speaking of community, dailydownforce.com is also home to some of your other favorite NASCAR content creators. Plus, they've got all sorts of information that I like to keep bookmarked, like schedules, penalties, ratings, and everything you want to know. Oh, and be sure to check out the merch shop while you're there to find some exclusive diecasts and collectibles. So check out dailydownforce.com, that's dailydownforce.com, and I'll see you in the replies. Eric Estep here. One of my favorite parts of being a NASCAR fan is collecting diecasts. It's how I got my start on YouTube, actually. To me, a room is not complete until it features shelves of NASCAR diecast cars. It's as good a time as ever to continue your collection or begin an all-new one by pre-ordering your favorite driver's 2022 next-gen diecast at lionelracing.com or at any authorized Lionel retailer. Lionel is the official diecast of NASCAR, and don't miss Lionel Racing's NASCAR Authentics diecasts at a Walmart or Target near you. Not only is Lionel the official diecast of NASCAR, but they're also official supporters of the Out of the Groove podcast network. So what are you waiting for? Head to lionelracing.com to order your favorite driver's 2022 diecast.
Hello, my name is Rick Houston, and welcome to another episode of the Moonshine and Motorsports podcast. At a time when a lot of weekly racing short tracks around the country are struggling, Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem continues to thrive. That's due in part to the promotional genius that is Gray Garrison. Now, I sat down with Gray to talk about his family's history with the racetrack and with NASCAR. I hope you enjoy it. Well, Gray, first of all, what is your earliest memory of Bowman Gray Stadium?
Golly, we're going to go way back in time. Yeah. That's when the Fred Flintstone days were there with their pedal cars. No, it's not quite that bad. But gosh, I can remember being, I was in the single digits of age, maybe 7, 8, 9 years old. And all my grandfather had, several dollars, and everybody in the family sold tickets. Well, all of us grandkids sold programs in the stands. And at that point in time, I had older cousins, and the older cousins always sold the programs at the gates. And they gave me a handful of programs, told me to walk through the stands and sell them. Well, I wasn't doing very good. I think I got 2 cents a program for every one I sold, and we were going through there, and I just wasn't doing any good. And this fella said, "Young man, you selling any?" I said, "No, sir, I just ain't selling any." He said, "Well, just stop and think about it." He says, "Everybody buys one when they're in the gate, so they're selling them all at the gate, and they just pushed you out to where you ain't going to sell any so they could get all the sales." And I thought, well, daggone, he ain't right. So I went up and tried to bully my way in outside the gate before they started coming in the gate to get people. So that didn't go well with the cousins at that time. So, on a good night, you'd make 10 cents, So, but that's probably my earliest memories. Yeah, that's been a long time ago, though.
Did you get better at selling programs?
I learned to move outside the gate real quick. Let's put it that way. So sometimes you don't let the people come to them, you go to the people.
And what kind of commission did you get?
It was like 2 cents a program. So, I learned real quick, you go to where the people are and, don't wait them to come to you. And so that was my first lesson in promoting right there.
Now, your name Gray. That's not an accident.
Well, that's no relation to Bowman Gray. Actually, it's not. It's not. My mother's college roommate, her name was Gray. So she named me Gray after that. A lot of people think it's the correlation, but I can sit there and say, yes, absolutely it is, but it actually is not.
Gray, it would be so much better a story.
Okay, it is. It is. I'm going to go to where the people are again. It is. It's Gray. And the Vincent, my first name's Vincent, and that's Vince Lombardi, and Gray and Bowman Gray. So
now, your maternal grandfather was Alvin Hawkins.
That's correct.
Okay. How did he become involved in racing?
He was born in Spartanburg. I think he was born in Spartanburg, South Carolina. He was always been, messing with cars and those type things back in those days. And he got, and I don't know the whole story, how they kind of got together, but, he crossed paths with a Bill France Sr. And I think Mr. France was in Maryland at that time. And he moved down south, progressed south where it got warmer. And they got together here in the South, and then they started promoting races on dirt. At that time, they were probably running 7 or 8, dirt tracks in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, the whole territory. They were promoting these races. And I know this because it's kind of another story of how things go, is they used to buy rock salt, and you put rock salt in water, makes water wetter. And you put it in dirt, and it holds moisture in the dirt. So they would buy a train carload of rock salt and they'd keep it back down behind the house. This is another story how I learned what that got involved, because they had this rock salt down there. And this is off track, but it's kind of a unique little story. Is my grandfather, he was an alcoholic. He drank. And on Saturdays when I was a little small kid, after I made my 10-cent selling programs, I rode around with Grandpa in a pickup truck. Well, one of the first places we went was the coal and ice store. They sold ice and coal. They sell these huge brown paper bags of ice. He'd buy a 100-pound bag of ice. Then we'd stop by a case of beer, put the beer in the ice, and when he'd stop, he'd snap, and I'd crawl out the window, get him a beer, and come back in the car. Well, the ice...
While it was moving?
No. Well, it slowed down sometimes. Let's put it that way. And
again, that would make for a much better story.
Well, it depends on how the drivers were on Saturday night. If they were kind of ill, he didn't slow down a whole lot. He just sort of kept moving as the conversations went on. So, but he had the ice, and then they had the rock salt from the tracks. And then on Sundays, we all sat around and made ice cream with the rock salt and the leftover ice, listened to MRN radio. And that was our Sundays. Every Sunday, that's what we did. We'd go and we'd use the leftover ice, the rock salt, and all of us grandkids took turns doing the churns on the ice cream. So that was some good memories there. That was good.
I'm still trying to focus on that line you said, that rock salt makes water wetter.
Water wetter. That's what they say. And see, that's what it does when you put it in the ice cream. It melts the ice and makes the water wetter, and it does. Look it up. Okay.
I'm not buying any beach land in Kansas or anything else.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not a chemist. I don't know.
I feel like you're asking me to go find a long wait in the garage.
No, that's okay. It's all good. But anyway, back, and my grandfather got hooked up with the Bill France story. They got together and they started promoting. At that point in time, the France family would move in with the Hawkins family, my mother's family in Winston, and they all lived together in the same house.
Wow.
So she basically grew up with Billy France. She always called him Billy, Bill France and Jim France. Jim France was much younger than them, but he was still there. And, she has a story I remember telling. She used to change Jim France's diapers because he was the baby of the family and everybody babied him at that point in time. So, but now he's 79. So that's a long time ago. So, but anyway, he got involved with racing. And at point things progressed. And then, the Bowman Gray piece of the puzzle come about is, Bowman Gray Stadium was built in the 30s, actually. I think it was under the, Works Progress Authority of, after coming out of the recession. And, R.J. Reynolds' family, the Bowman Gray piece of the puzzle came in. They gave them so much money and so much land to get this project started, and that's how Bowman Gray was built. It was built as a dirt track, a cinder track. They ran trotting horses around it. And then a gentleman came in and started running the midget cars on it. He ran a couple of races there. He worked a deal with the city that if they would pave it, then he would pay the city back as he made money each race. He would pay it back. Well, I think after the first race, he kind of took the money and ran. And then the city was stuck with this bill, for this paving. So they just said, let's call Hawkins in France and see if they'll come run some races here, because they were the big promoters in the area. And the story was told, I don't know how it is, but it sounds like a good story, is that, France and Hawkins said, okay, we'll go try it, but racing will never work on asphalt because all they do is race on dirt. So with a lot of skepticism, they went there and raced on pavement. And it seemed like the pavement thing worked out pretty good in the long run. So
now you said that they were promoting elsewhere in the area. Your grandfather and Mr. France.
Correct.
Where were they promoting it?
They had some races. There was a track, Peace Haven.
Okay.
Track in Greensboro. One in Greensboro. There was a track in Raleigh. There was a track in Charlotte, the fairgrounds. that was just something I know of. I think they had some like in Virginia, and they helped Enoch Staley up at the Wilkesboro track when it was still dirt in those days. They bought a piece of land in Fayetteville. They bought the land, built the track, ran one race, and paid for the track. And some kids broke in there the following week, and one of them got killed, and they shut down and never ran another race.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that land just sat there, and that track just grew up. I think they did some in Orange County. I think, so they were all over the place at that time, and they started doing those races. Then they went to the pavement, which will never work, but it took off. They did the pavement, and then they just kept going from there. France wanted to do bigger and better things. So at that point in time, my understanding was Mr. France would move south to Florida to the speed trials on the beach. He went down there, started doing that. And then, it was loosely, NASCAR was still pretty loosely at that time going in a lot of different directions. So Mr. France gathered the group together. You see at the Streamline Hotel down there. And my grandfather was one of those people at the head table.
Well, I was going to ask about that because not only was he at the head table, he was really close to Bill Sr. I think he was separated only by one person.
Yeah, he was very close. They were very close. And not only that, I think the strongest part of that whole relationship would be Annie France and Eloise Hawkins, because they're the ones that my grandmother, Eloise, they're the ones that kept the families together. And, it was one of those type things where, Alvin and Alvin Hawkins and Bill France were out promoting the races, but the ladies were behind it doing all the work. They were doing the tickets, and they were selling the tickets, and they were counting the money, and they were paying people. They were the front men, but the ladies behind it were probably doing all the work, actually.
Now, what was the line of succession in your family running Bowman Gray?
At that point in time, it was all of the France family and then all of the Hawkins family. I think originally it started out, there was like 6 people involved. There was Bill France Sr., Annie France, and maybe Bill Jr. And then on this end, we had Alvin Hawkins, Eloise Hawkins, and Joe Hawkins, which was my uncle at that point in time. And then when my grandfather died, I think in the 70s, I was a little small fella in the 70s. The France family kind of gave it to the Hawkins family, says, here, you take this and keep this running. And at that point in time, Joe ran it for years with my grandmother, Eloise Hawkins. Then when Joe passed away, I had another uncle,
Joe
Hawkins.
Okay.
Hawkins. He was the first of 5 kids, I believe, in the family. And then when he passed away, my other uncle, Dale, and my aunt, Johnny Hawkins Penless, they kind of ran it with Eloise for a while. And then when Eloise, my grandmother, passed away, Dale and them had it. And then I'd always been working there. And then I kind of stepped up and took a little more of a role at that point in time. Dale was an administrator at the hospital. He kind of retired from that. He had some health issues, so I kind of stepped up to the front lines, the pointy end of the stick, as they say. And so that was probably back in 2019, 25 years ago, roughly. And so I just kind of did the progression. All of the family did a tour of duty there. It's kind of like growing up on a farm. Everybody works on the farm. Some are smart enough to go away and get a real job, and some of us just hang around. So I guess I'm the one that just hung around.
Now, your kids worked there, didn't they?
They did. My kids have worked there. Wife Pam's worked there forever. All my kids sell tickets. So we all did that. And it was kind of it was a good family thing, but we still have cousins working there and their kids working there. So we still have the 4th generations working there. But my kids kind of got, we never went on vacation. We never went anywhere. We never did anything. We were in lawsuits once in a while. You come home and the answer machine is just filled to the top with messages and cussing and fussing. And my middle daughter, Emma's pretty verbal. She says, "Can I please call them back?" I said, "No, Emma, don't call them back," because she would light into them like a wildcat. I said, "Just let it go. So, but I mean, racing's one of those things, people are passionate about it. And at this level, there's no money in it. Okay. So they do it because of the love of the sport. And when things just don't go right, they're looking for a way to vent. And I guess as I said, the pointy end of the stick, and I'm the vent guy. Go vent at Gray. And everybody doesn't see it as that way. It's, when they say, I'm going to do this, I say, I got broad shoulders laid on me, So, and that's what I do. Listen. So that's kind of how I got to where I'm at, I guess you could say.
All right. I do want to ask, 1971 Grand National race, Bobby Allison wins. He gets the trophy, gets the check. Yeah. Now, why is he not credited for that?
I would say you did.
Are you a part of the conspiracy?
Yeah. Is that when also the time when MGB won a race at Bowman Gray or the AMC Javelin?
Yeah.
Those things.
No, it wasn't a Javelin or anything like that, but he was in a Ford Mustang. It was the Grand.
It was they had the different division. I think you had the Grand National and the Baby Grand at that point in time. And he won the whole shebangs in a Baby Grand car. I don't know. I think you have to ask Mr. Helton on that one, Mike.
It is worth a shot. All right. So you just touched on it, your leadership style, kind of go Vinnick Gray. A lot of people wouldn't react the way that you seem to have reacted. They would fight fire with fire. And you say, my shoulders are big enough, lay it on me. You've always seemed to have a low-key style. Why is that? Is that just your personality?
I think it's my personality, and I've never raced cars, couldn't afford to race cars, but I've raced motorcycles. And when you do that racing mentality, you have that passion you put into it, and things don't go your way because you do everything right, and something goes wrong, and you can't figure out why. So you just need to vent, and I kind of understand that point from that point. But the guys are they're just looking for somebody to talk to. Explain why or try not to explain why. And I get that. I get it. And so when they come up and they're mad and they're furious and they scream at me and holler at me and cuss at me, when it's done, I say, I still love you, brother. See you next week. And they says, I ain't never coming back. And as they go out the gate, they say, we'll see you next week. So it's, it's the compassion you feel for them. You really, really do. When you see a guy tear his car up, he worked all week and just tore it and he has nothing, I understand that. So just, talk to me. Communication is important. I think that's the most important thing. Don't run from it, because you run from it, it's just going to boil up and be worse next time. Get it on the table and let's talk about it.
All right. So today we see short tracks all across the country shutting down. Left and right.
Right.
And yet Bowman Gray plays to packed grandstands basically every Saturday night.
Right.
What's the secret?
The secret sauce, right?
Yeah.
It's like KFC. It's hidden in the vault.
Yeah.
Right?
What's the hidden ingredient?
I think there's a lot of ingredients there. I think, number one, we're entertainment. You got to realize your entertainment just happens to be racing. People come to see an exciting show. Controversial? Yeah, we're controversial. We try to make the show, you watch a soap opera on TV. They have cliffhanger Fridays, right? What happened? Last minute, what happened? You got to go back Monday and see what happens. And running a race and entertainment is kind of like orchestrating the event that you start out pretty exciting, then you get through the middle, then you're building that whole time, building up to the grand finale. And that's what we try to do, is make it exciting. So when people walk away, they're shaking their heads, can you believe what we just saw? They've got to come back next week and see how it works. Now, if you come in and you start, ruling the mighty fist and this type of stuff, you take the entertainment value out of it. Entertainment's number one. Number two, today we're an instant society. Everybody wants instant results. If you won't know something, you look it up on your phone. You call Mr. Google and get it. We run a quick, crisp show, in and out, 2.5 hours, try to be. People get home in time to go to church the next day. If you look, the California movie people, everybody in the world has figured out the attention span's 2.5 hours. That's why movies are 2.5 hours. We try to contain our show in that time period. Baseball now is trying to figure out how to shorten their show because it's so long. Football shortening, they're keeping those clocks running to narrow it down because society has changed. We get that. Cars on the track, race, get off, next one on, keep things moving. I think that's another thing that works. And we run a short season. We run a very short season. We run 17 or 18 weeks. Drivers can go broke in that amount of time. So, and I mean, you see some tracks that run 30 races a year, and it gets to the point, well, if fans think, well, if I don't go this week, they're running 30 times, there's another chance I'll get to go see them. But Bowman Gray, you miss a week, you're out of the loop. I mean, could we run such a short year? I think that helps us. We don't race on the 4th of July. We just say, time out. Everybody, let's just stop, time out. Families go on vacation, spend some family time. Y'all go do some family time, regroup, charge the batteries, and we'll come back and race in 2 weeks. I think that helps because that keeps mama happy. And if mama's happy, you know how that works. Everybody's happy. So there's just a lot of little things we do that are not ordinary for a weekly track. And it works, so why mess with it? So,
all right, so the nickname, the Madhouse.
Yeah.
That's well-deserved.
Okay.
Outwardly, as an official, you couldn't exactly encourage that kind of behavior. But at the same time, it puts a lot of butts in the seats.
It does. I think the Madhouse started back with the Myers brothers. I think when the Myers brothers got out, and said, man, after a night, this place is a madhouse. And the name's just kind of stuck, moving forward. Yeah. We don't encourage antics or anything. I think what we do is we put you in a position that you have to make a decision that may not be the best. Now they have the choose rule or the cone. We've been doing that for ever. We started doing that 30 years ago. And we redraw the different positions. We redraw the races. I'm not going to tell you what you have to do, but I'm going to put you in a position you've got to make a decision on what you're going to do. And that puts you in an uncomfortable position. And when you're uncomfortable, you get outside of your elements of being calm, cool, and collective. You get a little frustrated. You get a little mad, those type of things if you make the wrong decision. But you made it. I didn't make you make it. I just put you in a position you had to make a decision. And sometimes that gets the temperatures going, the frustration going, and they just react to it in that way. I didn't push it. I just told them they got to make a decision. And sometimes people don't like making a decision.
I saw a sign one time, and I think I did text it to you. It said, if you get in a fight in the garage where nobody can see you, I'm going to fine you $500. Mm-hmm. But if you get in a fight on the start finish line where everybody can see you, I'll give you $500.
Yeah. They think, there's a lot of truth to that. Some things, but Bowman Gray's always been that way. I think since I got involved with this thing, being third generation, I think my biggest job is don't screw it up. Okay. Yeah. Don't screw it up. A lot of the magic was there. It's just, maybe we've heightened it a little bit. I don't know if we've heightened it a little bit, but the society has heightened it because of social media. Everything you do today, you're on camera. So, that thing is more elevated because you're being seen by more people. Back in the days, you're in a historian. You can go back and see the days of Bobby Allison and Curtis Turner there having a crash fest in the infield. And my grandfather, the story is being the promoter that he was, is the next week he brought a shovel and a hatchet out there on the edge of the infield, and they dug a hole and buried the hatchet right there on the infield. So those things have been going on forever. It's just today it's heightened by society, cameras, YouTube, social medias, Twitters, all these things, X, whatever it is. All these things are heightened and everybody can see it now. I think that's the difference.
There's obviously been a lot of rivalries. Mm-hmm. At the stadium for a long time. Mm-hmm. Obviously the Myers and Junior Miller and that kind of thing. Do you take a hands-off approach to that? Or do you,
I don't, there again, I put them in that position to make the decision. I don't go by and say, go wreck that guy. We don't want that because anybody can get hurt. That's the last thing we want. I said, y'all need to figure this out, and I might walk by somebody's pitch and just says, did you hear what he said about you? What'd he say? Well, I can't say that, and just keep walking. Plant the seed to make them make a decision. That's what you kind of do, those type of things. And that goes back to the, making them make the decision. And it means a lot. These guys are heroes. They are heroes in this local community. I mean, you can go in the stands and this section will be all orange or blue of Tim Brown, and this one's all black of the Myerses. And not only in the modified division, but we have the rivalries, in the sportsman division, the Amber Lynn versus the whole sportsman field. So, and I think that's something we capitalize on. We don't shy away from it, but we don't publicize it as to the top. But, look at the world society as we live in. You got the Cowboys, the white hat and the black hat. Okay. That's a rivalry. You got Rocky against all those Rocky 1 through 29s, whatever they are. That's a rivalry.
Yeah.
The society is built on the good guy and the bad guy. So you take that good guy and that bad guy, you kind of push them both towards the front. You don't shy away from it, but you don't push it. That's the main star because you got a lot more there going on. But society loves the underdog in the winner. And so we kind of capitalize it on a little bit. That may switch from week to week, the good guy and the bad guy, depending on what happens. But,
Bowman Gray has been a local institution for years. Mm-hmm. But back, I don't even know when the show ran, the Madhouse TV show, mm-hmm. That puts you on a national level. And people were talking about coming to Winston-Salem to see Bowman Gray from all over the country.
Yeah.
How did that show come about?
That show came about, there was a young man named Grant Keller, and Grant was a film and art major at Wake Forest. And he went to summer school at Wake Forest. Well, he's in Winston-Salem in the summer. There's not a lot going on because Wake's not playing football, basketball, whatever going on. So him and his friends came to Bowman Gray. And when they came over, they said, this is the craziest place they've ever been in their life over at Bowman Gray because a lot going on, a lot of people, a lot of fans, a lot of moving parts there. The craziest thing there, he said, someday I'm going to do a show about this place. Well, he graduated from Wake Forest and he came over, him and his little buddies and his little friends and I shouldn't say little friends, his friends came over and they said, well, we'd like to, document this place and see what happens. I said, yeah, you and everybody else. Leave me alone. Well, he came back still persistent, and he said, well, let us do a documentary, a trailer, I guess they call it. So I said, okay, just don't get killed in the pits. That's the big thing. Don't get killed in the pits. So anyway, he did his little trailer and all.
That's good advice.
Yeah, it was. and he listened. That was the best. That's the best part. He listened. He didn't get killed in the pits. He did it and it was really good. It was a really good trailer. He captured a lot of the drama that was going on, the characters and those type things. And then after the trailer, he said, well, I'm off to California to sell it. And we said, okay, good luck. Nice knowing you, And he went out to the story he tells is he went out to California. He got hooked up with a company, Triage, I believe the name was the company, whatever, some marketing company. And they had a game plan. They were going to go to, at that time, there was a Speed Channel on TV, Speed Channel, ESPN. And for some reason, they had they met somebody that had a cousin of a cousin of a cousin of a cousin that worked at History Channel. So they said, okay, can you get us in the door? So they were had this plan hopefully to sell it to Speed Channel or one of those sports networks. Well, they went to the History Channel and the History Channel looked at the trailer and bought it right off. We're in. Well,
wow.
We're in. This is golden. We're in. They started filming the show and they came up to us and they said, if we can do an 800,000 viewers, we got a hit. We got a hit. Well, the show was doing 1.2 million, 1.2, so they were very much exceeding their expectations. Timing is good and timing is bad. It was good because it was showing, but that was the same year that History Channel put all their marbles in 3 shows: American Pickers, Pawn Stars, and Madhouse. Well, American Pickers and Pawn Stars just started going like gangbusters. So they kind of pushed Madhouse to the side and put all their marbles in those 2 baskets. So it was a good show, great ratings. The notoriety was unbelievable. We had busloads of people coming from all over the country, Oklahoma, all in the Southeast, the North. It were busloads. This was tour buses coming in with people. And everybody coming in, I mean, they loved it. It was just a natural hit. They just loved it. You didn't have to be a race fan. It was going back to the soap opera.
Yeah.
But that's how it kind of take off, and it just kind of got pushed to the side. So,
I know this is a loaded question.
Okay, I got borrowed shoulders laid on.
But what was your working relationship like with NASCAR over the years? When you would have somebody showing out in the infield and running into each other, what was your working relationship like?
I think it was a lot of respect. They got it. They understood what we did. They understood that we were entertainment. I had many calls the Tuesday morning. I think they had their competition meetings on Tuesdays, where they give out penalties and fines and those type stuff. And I would get the call from somebody on NASCAR Tuesday morning. We're getting ready to go to the meeting, Mr. Hilton and all the people up there in the competition. We're going to know what's going on. And they'll say, Gray, what are you doing? I said, I'm putting butts in the seats. What are y'all doing? It was kind of the answer.
Yeah.
And you're going to do something about it. Yeah, I'll do something about it. I'll take care of it. They knew what we were. Did they embrace it every time? No, they didn't, but they kind of respected what we did. Because it was good for the sport. I mean, it was good for the sport because it was bringing notoriety to racing, to NASCAR racing. And I think any publicity you get in that's kind of good. And so it was a very respectful relationship, and it's still a respectful relationship. That's kind of what brought this thing full circle back is, when we did this transaction, we met with, with Ben Kennedy, Lisa France Kennedy, and Jim France, and they all said, let's don't screw this up. Let's don't screw this up. This is the big thing. It's important to us. It's the full circle. It goes back to their heritage with our family's heritage. So we bonded back together. And I think the word they put out is let's don't screw this up. This is important.
Okay. The Clash out in L.A. at the Coliseum.
Mm-hmm. Novel idea, right? Racing around the football field.
Was there ever any discussion about having the Clash at Bowman Gray? And if not, was there ever a point where you were like, hey, we're here, we're right here. You don't have to build a multi-million-dollar quarter mile. Was there any discussion of that?
No, I think that's out of our pay grade. I mean, our focus is weekly racing, and that's what we focus on. They have that whole organization that does the three top tier divisions, and that's what they do. And I think what you may go back to the day when how this whole started.
Sure,
this whole thing started. Back in 21, I believe it was, when they did their new car, and then they had the Clash coming up. Well, they needed to introduce their new car. Well, they were trying to accomplish a lot of things. They wanted to introduce their new car, and they wanted to introduce the Clash in California, because California is a major media market. Let's face it. They want that media out there. California, Fontana shut down. They don't have a presence in California. They need that presence in California, Southern California, and that's the way they accomplished that, which made a lot of sense. A lot of sense. It took it to an area that hasn't been in the LA. Racing NASCAR's not that big in that area, but they got their footprint there. That was important. They did the tire test, and Ben Kennedy came out. And of course, Ben Kennedy, the grandson to the whole thing, he has a sentimental place because he won a race there. We raced the K&N races, and Ben finished second or third one week and come back and won a K&N race, one of his big marquee wins when he had his racing career. So it had a sentimental place to him. They came out and did the tire test, and me and Ben started talking. There's the Winston-Salem State University. You got a lot of family ties here. And so we started talking and progressing, and those talks went on 2.5 years, because this is now, 24, and that was back in 21. That's 3 years. So we started talking. It just takes a while. Sometimes things move slow. But the Clash was never on our radar, right? Because that's not what we do. We promote weekly racing. Myself, I promote weekly racing 18, 19 times, 17 times a year. That's my focus. They focus on those things. And I think, they're very smart people, and successful. If you don't believe it, look at it. They've been very good at what they do. What the future holds, I don't know. That's not my thing. My thing's the weekly racing. And if they see an opportunity and it makes sense, they'll probably look at it. We'll just see what happens on that one.
Those initial discussions back in 21 at the tire test or wherever it was, who made the first pitch? Did you bring it up, or did he?
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. We talked to him. We're always, and I don't know if I was about a sale or I was trying to gain more publicity for Bowman Gray Stadium to promote weekly racing.
Surely not.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out any angle I can get the Bowman Gray name out there is good. Without sitting there saying, "Hey, Ben, look at us over here at Weekly Track. We're doing all these type things. Can you help us do some things? Can you get us more involved with diversity with Winston-Salem State? NASCAR's been very good at that. They have their whole program on that. Can you help us with sponsorships, those type things?" And things kind of led one to another. Not necessarily, do you want to take over Bowman Gray, but is there some more things we can do together? I guess was the angle I was going at. And then it kind of just led one to the other. So
now you didn't actually own the track facility. You just owned the lease. Is that
That's correct. We have Winston-Salem Speedway Incorporated, which was founded, by the years ago. And the facility is owned by Winston-Salem, the city of. That's when it was back when the Reynolds family gave the land to the city plus some seed money to get it started. So the city owns it. We lease it. We've got I still say we, I'm still feel like I'm part of it. The lease runs through 2050, 30 years. And then Winston-Salem State has a long-term lease to play football there. So it's a very unique situation for the city. I mean, most municipalities would, just thrive to have two major tenants in a facility like that. And they're blessed that way. Very good at that.
Do you know what kind of plans NASCAR has for the facility?
Not to ruin the magic. That's the thing right now. Don't screw it up. That's what I've been told right now is don't screw it up. And that's what our focus is don't screw it up. Plans, I don't know. Like I say, they're smart people. I'm sure they're thinking years down the road, what they want to plan, but our focus is weekly racing right now.
Are you going to have any kind of role in the place?
Yeah, I hope so.
In the future.
I hope so. I'm not really ready to retire yet. I mean, I've had a lot of job offers already,
Have you really?
Yeah, I've had probably about 4, maybe 5 job offers already. I said, no, I'm going to hang around here till they run me off. And, but right now we will be back this next year. And I think we'll be there for several more years to come because it's a big animal. It's a lot of undertaking. I think there'll be some changes, minor changes, because they're a big operation the way they operate. I think the hardcore nucleus will stay the same. And I hope I'm part of it. I'm planning on being part of it. I'm definitely part of it this year, and I'm not ready to retire yet.
I think a lot of people's worst fears is the madhouse becoming a kinder, gentler, more genteel place. Do you see any danger of that?
I hope not. That's not keeping the magic, like we've been told.
Stir that pot.
Well, I know. I think there will be, NASCAR will have every intention keeping everything the same that they can. Okay. There will be some things that they can't keep the same because they have a bigger target on their back. Okay. And what I mean by that is they may be, their tolerance level won't be as wide as mine is because they have a lot of eyeballs on them. I think they will take it to the limit of what they can bear and what they can do. There will be some changes, but I don't see them coming in and says, you touch somebody, you're out, those type things. I don't see that. I think they will come in and just do more things on the broad scale that they need to do. But they want to keep the magic. I think they really do. So,
how do you plan to spend your summer?
Bowman Gray. Right now, we're already hard at it. I mean, it is the thing of it is people say now that how you going to spend your summer, or it's kind of like they think we're like a preacher. Preachers only work Sundays, right?
Right.
They just work Sundays. They do a 1 hour, preach for 1 hour and they go home. They don't do nothing the rest of the week. And they think if we just show up on a Saturday and we, run races for 4 hours, whatever it is, then we go home. We don't do nothing the rest of the week. It's not that way. There's not a day that doesn't go by year round. There's not a day that goes by that we do not address some issue with Bowman Gray. Whether it's a competitor calling about this, whether it's a sponsor calling about that, whether it's insurance, it's whatever. It's a year-round job. Now, I'm not saying 8 hours a day, but you do something every day of the year with racing. And this year, we're practicing this Saturday. we got practice this Saturday, and then we're hitting the ground every Saturday from here to September. We're doing something. Well, every day of the week we're doing something. So we'll be right there in it. We're still actively involved with ticketing, tickets, ticket sellers, rules, regulations. We're right at it. They brought a nice young man in to kind of pick the pieces up to learn. He's got a big learning curve because there's a lot going on in different things. One thing that's made Bowman Gray successful is I make the cars go in a circle, which is that's what I do. I've got a cousin, Lauren Penless, and he does the PR, the publicist. He also prints our program we have. Then I have Uncle Dale Penless, and Dale does the sponsorships and hospitality. And we all stay in our lane and do what we do. And we all, I think, are really, really good at what we do. Now, we talk and we converse back and forth daily about what's going on, what's happening, because one thing ties into the other. They all tie together. But we stay in our lanes and we focus on what we do to make that the very best we can do. And I think this is going to be hard for one person to come in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 people to come in and do what we do. But, it'll take a while. And like I say, I'm not planning on going anywhere. Now, NASCAR tells me to go home. We'll just go up the road somewhere and do something. So we'll see.
Last question. When something arises this summer,
mm-hmm.
you say you got big shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
When that issue arises, whose shoulders is that issue going to fall on? Yours or the general managers or somebody else?
I think it's going to be both.
Okay.
I think it's going to be both of us. And I told Austin, the young man coming in, I says, because when they come in, they're going to play us against each other because something's not going to go their way. And they're going to run up to you and say, Gray said this, and then they're going to run up to me and say, well, Austin said this. Well, I told Austin, I says, just say, okay, let's just go find Gray and let's see what he said. And I'm going to do the same with you. I'm going to say, Austin, let's just, let's go find Austin and see what he said. It's one of those type things when people get mad and they're upset and really, really, really upset, there's no need to talk to them right then. You're not going to get anywhere. Just walk away. Let's cool off, calm down, and then we'll come back and convene later and talk about it. And that'll be kind of the same format we'll do with Austin and things going this forward. We'll make a decision as a team. Okay. I'm not looking at Austin coming in and taking over and being the general manager. Austin's just now part of the Bowman Gray family. So we still have the family intact. And what I mean by family is officials, everybody that's there, drivers, track crew, whatever. It's all the family. Austin's coming into the family now. And we're just going to be at the pointy end of the stick as a family, but we'll still make decisions as a team. That's the plan.
All right. This is the last question.
No, I got all day. I got broad shoulders.
What does Bowman Gray Stadium mean to Gray Garrison?
For the last 50 years, it's been my baby. It's been my life. It's what we do. That's what you have grown up doing. That's what you have groomed. That's what you have, it's my family. I said, it's the Bowman Gray family. I remember Burt Myers coming there, and Burt was so small when his dad come through the pits, Burt would walk on the other side of the car to try to sneak into the pits. I mean, he didn't have to duck down. He was that small. I mean, he didn't even come up above the wheels. Yeah. Those peoples, we grew up with those peoples. I mean, and now Burt's son's racing. So, it's fourth generation. So it's the family, and the families, we feud, we fight like your outside of racing family does, and the inside family racing family fights, or not fights, but have disagreements, So, I mean, sometimes it's, you realize you've got to move on. I mean, it just, who would imagine, not that I'm at the level of any of these other people, but, just like Coach K realized, it's time, Roy Williams at Carolina, it's time, and it's that time. We don't have a real good succession plan, and I don't have to worry about it now. I still want to be involved. I'm still involved. So I think it's going to be a good deal. I really, really do. I'm looking forward to the, future. I think, NASCAR has so many more resources than we can do. The biggest challenges we've got in this world today of racing is, electric cars, driverless cars. What's going to happen down that avenue? And the younger generation is going to have to pick it up because I don't know how to do that. I don't. And the next people I can give my 2 cents, which probably won't be worth nothing, but that's the future. Good future, bad future, it's the future. So we'll be good. It's going to be good.
All right, man. Go.
If Gray Garrison could bottle up the magic that is found at Bowman Gray Stadium every Saturday night of the racing season, kind of like Moonshine, he would be a very wealthy man. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification button, and comment on this episode. We'll be back with another one very soon.